Good evening, and as always, it's a pleasure to be here. This is going to be the return to form for our Null and Coterie. We left them in quite a pickle and would be picking up a little while after our last episode. There are several decisions that need to be made, and only the Coterie themselves can make it. Tonight's episode of City of Forgotten Care, Volume 2, Episode 3, is A Flagon of Discovered Demoiselle. And I'm your host, your storyteller, your number one fan, nobody. We're just awaiting the other players to arrive.
Hello, nobody.
Welcome. How are we doing?
I am suffering from indigestion right now, but other than that, I'm good. Oh yeah, and Cole got home a day early, and he's, I think, cooking his meal right now.
Hasn't he had enough good food? He can survive on water and bread. Hard tack, to be exact.
I mean, I can survive on bread and water, but eh.
What's going on, sir? How we doing?
Ruh, bro. There we go. Now I can hear.
Hearing is important.
How? Indeed it is. How are we doing?
Not bad. How are you with your son and activity?
I had a lot of fun. It was, I don't know. The next time I go to Nolans, I'm definitely going alone. Let me put it that way.
Or bring me.
Yeah, or bring somebody who actually can enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, lesson learned, but you had fun for the most part. Like 75% of it was great stuff, right?
Oh yeah, no. We just remember the bad stuff more. No, I enjoyed it.
How we doing, Reverend Noel? How we doing?
Just super irritated about this whole window situation.
What happened with your window?
So the company that bought out our apartment complex is replacing all of the windows, which is great, except our window was Wednesday, Thursday, and today, and they didn't show up.
Uh-oh.
But I took 3 weeks off just to have one of them sitting here basically doing nothing, because I can't even really start deep cleaning until I have everything boxed up. Yeah. Just annoyed.
No, understandable.
My condolences and good luck to you.
Yeah, because that's a pisser.
Oh, also, Nobu, Abe was showing me the basement scene, and he was like, "You've got to read this." Fucking Filbert.
Yeah, what's wrong with Filbert? It's a lovely NPC name.
Yeah, Filbert is kind of an ass, though. I read some of his stuff. He's just a little bit of a prick. Hey, how's it going? Welcome.
Well, hi.
Are you guys ready to watch one half the party die?
It's not one half. It'll be fine. Will work out.
I'm sure it'll work out. At Gold's Gym?
No matter what happens, it will work out. We are just past our soft start and settling in. And while we're all here, Mal, Reverend Noel, Abe, Sin, and our good old-fashioned Evergreen, do we have any questions as to where we left off? Not what's going to happen, not what can happen and what we are in the middle of, but where we left off.
Yeah. Everything sound of horrible violence. I felt and smelt the rain of carnage and blood. These two idiots are unconscious. Evergreen, what is his current state? Is it? Am I awake, or did I just suddenly get fucking staked?
Excellent question. Let's see if I can answer that for you. Would you be so kind as to roll a strength plus brawl or stamina plus brawl?
Oh,
As I remember, I think Abe became the warlord by using Bo as a human battering ram. Is that correct? Let's see if I can gaslight the GM.
Not quite.
Let me see. I believe I keep track of it here. Should be, yes. Okay, so I am at rouse or no rouse?
No rouse. That's a reflexive.
No rouse. All right, solid. So it's and just roll as high as possible, right?
Yeah.
Messy critical of 7.
Amazing.
That is absolutely fantabulous in your regard. No, you are not staked. You know you are not immediately put under. Worse yet, you have to fight nearly blind through what comes your way. And what comes your way is a massive kindred that, well, if you didn't know it was a trap, you know it was one now. Because they were prepared for the victor. They were prepared for the violence. They were prepared for all manner of expressions of, I am the fucking warlord! Would you be so kind as go ahead, roll 1d10, divide by 2.
Nice. All right. Let's just do this. Divided by 2 is going to be 2.
Ouch. Ouch. All right, so you, my dear boy, have 2 wound levels left.
Oh, I got fucked up. Oh.
You in your, well, they're unknown combatants and your compatriots are there, and being a man loyal to his own personal ethos, you, instead of kneeling, instead of going down, instead of pretending to be out and waiting for the opportunity to surprise attack the shock and awe, you shock and awed as they entered the ring, as they descended like falling angels. In your savagery, you pushed them to the point of nearly killing you. You are still cognizant, you are untorpid, but you are held finally after several rounds of combat where you've left gruesome and vicious wounds across those who sought to maintain order, to collect order. You watch as your compatriots are carted from the arena, are carted from the club, are carted down the alley into several black vehicles. And part of your training, part of your existence, knows that the fight is over. Because the one thing you never do is allow them to take you to a secondary location. And you are already in a second location as the van doors close.
I feel like it's I prefer it to come out with savage and bloody results. I'm marking 5 points of ag, correct?
Yes, you are 2 health levels from death.
Oh, okay, that's 6 ag then. All right, let's go. I love that. I love that mental image there. That's literally, as you were saying, they were prepared for all manner of declarations of overzealous, I'm the warlord. But I don't necessarily feel like they were altogether prepared for what they found. They still managed to take me down. They still managed to bring Evergreen into custody. But fuck if they didn't bleed for it.
Well, you know, there's more to life than bleeding. Not for Kindred, of course, but there is.
Oh, that's great.
But you did mention the basement scene, and you read it. What do you think of the prognostications passed off and all of that? Taking a look at where the state of affairs of the Anarchs are in the moment.
We're talking about how The first SPC that I read in there was basically talking about how everything is going to hell, and how Landry is probably going to survive, and the Baron is probably going to survive, and he had this kind of grim realization of, oh fuck, that's why Landry hands off all of her goddamn responsibilities.
Yeah. Very much either she can come in and be the great ameliorator, the peaceful, blah, 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 putting on the images of, benign justice, because Derek has overdone it. Again, Derek has been violent and vicious and clear to the point, and she gets to come in and find that middle road, the balance thing. Mm-hmm. And
very much.
And if he fucks up, well, it's his fuck up that she's fixing. And if he's successful, she trained him right.
Yep. Very much the lose-lose, win-win. His actions are his responsibility when he's fucking up, and his actions are her credit when he's doing well. You gotta love that shit. And very much, I believe, goes to show that, once again, the Anarchy is not necessarily that different from the Camarilla. They just say it is.
No, it is wholly different. They believe in sharing. They believe in you keep what you kill.
Mm-hmm.
You can kill your way to success. But eventually, everyone meets the wall. Everyone pays the house. The bill always comes due, and if you don't have enough funds when it comes due, well, that's on you. Hopefully you've made enough friends along the way to at least dig a nice grave for you.
Yeah, boy. I think another reason why I enjoy being at 6 Ag is that I think it would feel a little weird if, at least to me, it would feel weird if he was, managed to gag bag tossed in the back of a van at, full fucking health.
Now here's the real question. How many people did Ian take down before they got him?
Well, it doesn't matter. I don't think he'd really be able to count in the pitch fucking black.
I don't care. This is as the viewer watching, because I can no longer do anything as Abe.
Well, you're not watching then, are you? You're
No, I'm watching as a party audience right now.
The audience was fucking murdered.
No. The audience, the fourth wall audience.
Oh, the fourth wall boys. Okay, well.
Well, there's something to be said about that.
Welcome, Bo. Evergreen has been captured, but he put up one hell of a fight.
Oh, that happened quick.
Holy shit, the difference is 6.
As I said, they managed to get me, but they bled for it.
That's the best way to go out. If you gotta go out, that's the best way.
I'm not the only one walking into this court with one leg.
No, you're not.
The difference is theirs will grow back.
Oh, fuck.
That was uncalled for and beautiful burn.
Look, man, all we need is we just need to go to the local Samitsi barber and they will fix him up.
Ah, yes, the Samitsi plastic surgeon.
No, I said barber. A good old-fashioned kind, the kind that actually worked on people medically.
This be the twoo. Oh, you mean the ones that would, they'd give you your bleedings?
I have no idea. Like the Civil War era barbers.
Yes.
Barber surgeon.
I was talking about a little bit prior to that, but yeah. When young ladies would go into their saloons and get bled to maintain a pale pallor.
Well, in all this, you'd have to go to Ernst. Stavros could help too, but Ernst is probably more.
Another thing I noticed about Nolans, it's got that aesthetic that I enjoy, but at the same time, it makes me feel as if it's weathered. The entire city looks weathered.
Well, it is. And Noble, you were saying?
I was going to say, fun fact, back in the Victorian times when surgeons were really first coming into their own, they were looked down on as uneducated and not a true part of the medical community.
Yeah, that and their lethality, or their fatality rates were insane. Because nobody cleaned their tools.
I do clean my tools. How dare you, sir?
Or they'd either kill you or heal you, one or the other.
Usually a combination of both.
There was one surgeon that had a 300% mortality rate for the same.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. It's debated whether or not that was just his colleagues shit talking him.
No, there's nothing that can't be debated. And one thing that can be debated is that we are all here. We are 8 minutes before our hard start. So, for the record, what questions do we have as to where we were? Because we will be picking up several hours and several handfuls of miles from where we ended.
I presume, just for sake of ease, that Salem has been sequestered by her higher-ups.
Oh, so much worse. So much worse. Have you seen any of those videos or memes going around where someone's swatted?
Uh-huh.
You all are holding up or arriving back at Salem's shop, and that's exactly what happened. Instead of just several handfuls and score of men and women in heavy tactical gear and helmets and semi-automatic and automatic weaponry, you have never before contemplated what a strike force of hematic wizards could look like. In your head, there's still that gothy 80s, early 90s punk aesthetic. Lots of black, lots of kohl eyeliner, spiked hair, mohawks, and no. It is the antithesis to that. It's mom from down on the farm. It's grandpa who survived the First World War. It is the corner preacher who appeals to all the tourists. It is a flock of very odd birds with a overwhelming sense of menace because they are moving like only the dead can. They have
Harper, you got swatted by the HOA.
No, the incident set off the alarm. There's the alacrity of the dead. There's the speed and strength of how they all but teleport into being. They come through the door, they enter through the back, they enter through the window, but the way that they're moving lets you know that they are not to be fucked with in any sense of the word. And there is no immediate, easy escape. It can be done. And it is entirely up to where you all are mentally when you see this just conflagration of people that you would never assume were even remotely associating with each other, storming through the door. Yelling, screaming, demanding you get on the floor, raise your hands, don't move, stay still, get down, stand up. It is exactly as chaotic as that. And as you all are, if you don't, and if you do, are put up a fight or don't put up a fight or try to talk your way out of it, each of you are separated on the way out the door. Each of you are placed in handcuffs. Really, honest to goodness, old school 1920s and 1940s handcuffs. The ones that has to be, each cuff has a separate key and wrought iron. Clearly well used because they haven't rusted, but it is heavy and uncomfortable and strangely laughable from the outside. You can only imagine what it looks like. It looks like you all are part of a school field trip out of the poison apple. And what other questions do we have?
Oh, we kind of were captured, so it's not really much to say about it, right?
There's a ton. And just getting into the mindset, making sure that you have any details that are relevant to you in that moment, to the character in that moment. What were you saying, Mal?
Would this send Mal into some sort of panic or delusion with the whole ties to a certain institution that we do not wish to name often?
Yeah, we don't talk about the IRS at all, but very close. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your Resolve plus Composure, your standard DC for me, please? As the cold iron settles around your wrist, as all of the dead, scrabbling hands of the entirety of the New Orleans Chantry. Are they helping you, Salem, and Reverend Noel out in separate moments? You know that it's not true. You know that it didn't happen, but you remember being there in the parlor as all of the landed gentry, all of the ladies from upper crust who passed the paper bag test, began laughing and pointing fingers. You swore your revenge on them for not just this generation or the next, but as long as their generations dare to live and exist inside of New Orleans, you would make sure that each of them felt nothing more than Job's excess traumas. You promised that you would never be laughed at again. You would not be pilloried. You would not be trotted out as an example of what wayward women could get up to. And so you built your empire because of moments like this. Those landed fools, those elite upper crust looking down their nose at you, doubting your power, not just your ability to speak with the dead, not just your ability to speak with their mimas and mamons and their elder brothers long gone to the grave, but because of your real power. Here, your ability to speak with the street urchin and the blacksmith and the local priest, the councilman, the shipyard boss, and make sure that their lives were harassed and harangued everywhere they went without any proof that it was you in the doing. Shipments got lost. They weren't able to sit in their favorite pew next to their peers because, after all, closer to the pulpit, the higher you're standing. They were settled at the back of the church. They were settled at the back of the trolley cars. Their liveries somehow always had a busted wheel. Their horses were always spooked and malnourished, not eating, constantly needing trips from the doctor to come make sure that they would at least make it through the night. Their children were bullied. Rocks, tomatoes, and every little bit of street dirt and trash was thrown their particular way. People would empty their pots and chambers on them as they happened to be moving by certain balconies. The ladies of the night refused to take their calls, and the men of the day refused to offer their arms. You would make sure that they would all pay. Or some such delusion and would be going through Mal's head at that particular moment.
So yeah, pretty much. She's not struggling too much because she knows it's not going to help nothing. But the curse she's storming up for them in full patois is happening, and she is loud enough for anybody to hear. So if anybody is like particularly superstitious, they might get a little spooked.
Well, the nearest compatriot is Reverend Noel. Now, hearing all of that lovely, beautiful patois stretching back all the way to the early 19th century, does she pick up on it? Does she understand in much French that's sprinkled throughout? Does she have a grasp on the local superstitions and the many ways that bad luck is warded off?
Mm-hmm. Possibly within a cult of 3.
That being the case, being as there is a little bit more unbridled nature to Mallory, she can definitely hear words that would make even the most archdemons very upset with that coarse language. In the middle of tearing through a village and raining hellfire on a town square, Beelzebub himself would look back. Could you please with the language, madam? It's the sort of thing that lets you know that, well, there's a little darkness in everybody and a little bit of everybody in the dark. And that's exactly what's streaming and flowing out. While you are aware of the many superstitions being violated, the fact that in between certain curses, she's whistling at her handlers, and between various strings of on the surface nonsensical mentions as to their mother's uncle and their father's bastard child and their lover and husband being, it just goes on and on and on. And in the midst of that, you find that she is in fact cursing their families. She's in fact putting hexes on each of them verbally and audibly. The sort of thing that when you are in the know, when you hear it being spoken, you kind of you don't view the situation in the same anymore. It is literally like being in a checkout and the woman in front of you is not only demanding the manager but reading them the riot act in English, Spanish, Greek, German, and Russian. And the college kid who's the manager on duty is standing there wiping sweat from his brow, trying to hold eye contact, but you can tell the only thing that he really wants to do is call his mother. That's the sort of feel that this moment has as you all are led out to various vehicles, and the shop is politely closed. The blinds are drawn and the door is locked. All right. It is 35 after the hour. Do we have any other questions or perceptions or moments we'd like to understand before we prepare to start?
I think I'm good over.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing, Bo?
What?
How's Bo doing right now?
Oh, Bo's fine.
About the same as
It
Abe.
wouldn't be the first time he was arrested.
Yeah. Well, is it really arrested if you're taken out in a body bag?
Lamos.
It's sad, but even deceased, if the police are at the scene of a violent exchange with anyone, one of the first things that they will do is typically handcuff the corpses of those involved.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in case they're playing dead and or they like come back. It's not unheard of for somebody to get shot and then like get back up later. Now, mind you, if they get shot in the head, I don't know why they cuff them then, but like,
Because
I mean, I guess drugs.
depending on where the bullet hits, the shock may not keep them down and allow them to properly die. Getting shot in the head isn't a death sentence, unfortunately. It's a painful existence if you happen to survive, but it is not always a death sentence. And, well...
yeah.
Something Phineas.
Phineas
Can't remember his
Gage.
last name. Gage, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone learns about him on Psychology Class 101.
Yes. One of the few things I remember from psychology class. That and those videos that they constantly showed.
Brain games.
I think that was it. Specifically, one that came up recently was the video of the gorilla.
I see.
Tunnel vision, how no one really pays attention. Oh, that was always the fun one.
Yeah, that one surprisingly came up while I was looking into fighting game stuff.
And they're like, look, he's right there. He's right there. He's right there. There he is.
It's the monk. Well, I mean, if you guys didn't get arrested, then I suppose you were repossessed.
Yep.
Something very similar to that. Here, without making any excuse for the biases and the very horrible language that is part of the kindred community. Uriah is called the madman partially because of his actions and partially because of the clan that he is part of. There is a reason why people fear the lunatics, and it has very little to do with their actual supernatural issues. It's very little to do with their actual curse, because you can get by and understand as a kindred that each and every last one of you, each and every last bloodline and clan has their issues because of the very thing that promises them immortality. And it's not their affliction that mirrors and points towards real world psychological and emotional issues. It is the fact that they are the living embodiment that everyone is suffering with something, and you never know when those issues will rear their heads. Everything is perfectly fine. seemingly completely normally abnormal about them. They are just another kindred. Meeting them on a night out, if you happen to be so lucky to not be their victim of the moment, you would be able to have one of the most fantabulous conversations about any of the niche interests and hobbies in your world. And then the very next moment, the fact that no one's looking at them or looking at you, they disappear from right before your eyes. Or worse yet, you never see them move, and they are on you. Their fangs are in you. Your immortality fading away by the second, and you fight them off, and you prepare to mount an affirmative defense, and they're playing victim. They're crying. They're weak. They're the clearly outnumbered, outgunned entity. So you move to strike them down and make sure that they don't attack you ever again. And then they're gone. Their speed, celerity, and ability to play mind games with you, taking away all of your hard-won reason, all of your slight balance with your beast, their ability to crawl through your head and make you relive that moment over and over again, unable to see straight, is why they're dangerous. Because you never know when they'll strike. You never know when they'll appear. You never know when you cross a boundary with them that you can't come back from. And you never see it coming. And that's much the way they move through the crowd at Christians. That's much the way that he moves through when handing out all of that deliciously over-the-top and violent punishment. Now, the thing is, Uriah is called out to make an example of things, to make things bloody, and to drive them to their fevered pitch, because you never know when exactly he's going to move, but whenever he does move, it will be a mess. It will require several handfuls of millions of dollars to make it go away, to remove it enough from the public zeitgeist where people feel safe, or kindred feel okay going out into the dark to hunt for their daily bread any longer afterwards. Now, the primogen Joshua could have been called. The Sheriff Donovan could have been called. There could have been a gathering of the entire primogen council, could have been called to act on what happened to Morgaine. But they weren't. Madman Travers was called. The Madman Travers was given control and lordship over the local Tremere to deal with what happened after Morgaine. There was an example being made on several fronts, and the idea of it being quiet and swept under the rug never seemed to be part of the plan. And so, unless of course we have any other questions, suggestions, hypotheses, or corners we need to round off, I'd like to say thank you. This hobby is not an easy one. The books cost too much. It takes a huge amount of time to schedule things and get things moving normally. But even in that lack of ease, I thank you all for your energies, your efforts, and the opportunity to know these and all of the other characters that you've all managed to breathe life into. For coming along with me with this hobby and exploring the dark world these characters inhabit. It is, without a shadow of a doubt, something that is impossible to replace or properly account for. The only thing that I have, the most valuable thing that I can give in equal measure or close to it, is my energy, my time, and my enjoyment of your efforts. And without too much further ado, with all of our questions for what was accounted for, I'd like to say that this is officially the City of Forgotten Care, Volume 2, Episode 3. A Flagon of Discovered Demoiselle. We pick up hours later. The conflagration of destruction at the lamplighter was a signal flare fired into a absolutely pitch black sky. The bloodbath at Christians Because let's be honest, while the name has changed and the public seeming of the space has mutated, morphed, and adapted over the years, it will always be Christians. The funny thing about Christians and the Lamplighter, one thing that they have in common besides the community that they typically serve, which is the kindred, is that they are both bars, they are both nightclubs, they are both places that at any other epoch in history would be where revolution was plotted and planned, where the overthrowing of a government would have begun in whispers and exchanged glances and stories told of the wrongness of what they serve or what is lording over them. The vast bulk of revolutions and rebellions across the entirety of the globe have happened around a hearth and a bar. If they're both in the same place, all the better. But those two places have fostered more revolutions, failed and successful, than any other building, any other institution, any other trade. And then the lamplighter is gone. And now Christians, the feeling of it is gone. No one's safe in the dark. The message already spreading far and wide. The rumors whispered into the night becoming outright yells and calls to arm. Those brave enough to stand against, how could he, how could they? And they being those in power. He, of course, being Prince Guibault. First, his idiot of a child, Anthony, drawing all of the attention to himself after Calabalarchi's holy mission, after Calabalarchi's jihad against those northern aggressors. And now, Guibault himself slaughtering the vast majority of anarchs. Guibault himself sending the madman in to make an example of things. The whispers have begun. The roaring call to arms and that something needs to be done by someone is already happening. Somewhere out there in the dark, but not where you all are. Not where everyone is being slowly gathered. Because while most of those who have the opportunity to accidentally escape, to find an opening between the guards and the kindred rushing through to find their way out into the night, are reconvening. Those who haven't found a way to hide, those who aren't rushing to the easiest, quickest way to get out of the city before the hammer really falls on them, because they can't be so lucky all the damn time. At least that's what they tell themselves. You all are at Prince Guibault's private residence. When everyone thinks of a plantation house, they think of the antebellum style building. Huge colonnades, balconies, and, well, much of America's dirty past and current present in many places. Fields being tended, horses and lilacs in bloom. That's not exactly what Prince Guibault's plantation is. It has been modernized. The driveways are all paved, not hard-packed dirt. The colonnades have been removed, and it's a brutalesque styled building. Windows still French and floor to ceiling. Doors much the same. And while it is still a shining example of an architectural style, it is clearly meant for places not here in the South. All of that concrete, all of that hard wood requires care and maintenance that the moisture and water in the air are determined to eat away and make invalid. Yet all the same, It is a huge, squat, ugly thing. It looks like a prison. It looks like most modern children's high schools. It looks so considerably out of place. You would expect this to have been something done by anyone and everyone born north of the Mason-Dixon, not someone who has been in New Orleans through each and every rebuilding since Andrew Jackson laid war and siege via the area. But Prince Gibeau has changed over the years. Everyone expects the blue blood to be staid and reserved and to lord over everything vaingloriously with quiet proclamations that show his iron fist. But Prince Gibeau, if you saw him in any moment where he was not holding court, would be hard to pick out from a modern, i.e. late 80s big hair rock star. When not in court, Prince Gibeau lets his flag fly. Gone is the well-coiffed and tamed hair. The goatee, of course, is always well immaculately barbered. But chains and rings and gauntlets and leather pants and shirtless attire and a full-on persona that is big and brighter than most toreadors could ever hope to account for, which is the complete and total antithesis to his courtly regalia. Brocaded jackets, waistcoats, high collar, stiff collared shirts, immaculate jewelry, maybe a signet ring, everything in rich, tasteful tailoring, such as tonight. Those of you cognizant and aware find him standing in the second floor window, watching as everyone is brought in, everyone who is at question, everyone who is there to witness, brought into the home, and through the home out into its back landscape where a court has been set up. Lots of folding chairs, torches at tasteful distances so you don't worry about the flame, mosquito netting put up for those who have a higher semblance of being human, and a temporary hardwood floor laid so that you don't have to walk through the muck and mire. Several chairs being moved for the accused, many of which are laid across 2 and 3 at once to make sure that they don't have the dishonor of having to lay on the temporary placed hardwood floor. And those of you cognizant and aware realize that you are not alone. But one very important person is missing. If they were choosing a warlord tonight, where is the Baron?
I believe only one of us is actually aware of who the selected Baron is, correct?
Yes, New Orleans has several barons, but none of them are here either. Not single.
Oh shit.
Not a single solitary one. Not a single solitary actual anarch is here. You all are here. You're living examples of the anarch in full display, but there's no other whispered and known anarch. And as you all are settled into chairs, your cuffs being undone on one wrist, handcuffing you to the chair that you are on, and back to your other wrist, keeping you seated. You all have a few moments as the gathered Congress is arranged. You all watch as the Toreador Primogen Joshua comes in. You watch as the two head Tremere, Stickler, and Prat enter. You watch as the Caesarian Lord comes in, because there's not really any way to give them the title of Primogen, but the Caesarians have been in New Orleans since New Orleans has been New Orleans in one shape, fashion, or form. But being as they are magisters, known and proud, vainglorious magisters, they don't get a privileged seat. They do get the opportunity to take part. So you see Mr. Kassarian and his brother, cousin, uncle, you're not sure, but he goes by Father Kassarian. You watch as Uriah Travers arrives, the scourge and primogen of the Malkavians of New Orleans. You watch as Laura, the Gango primogen, arrives and takes her seat. Now, around each of them, they bring their red news. Mr. Kassarian brings his right-hand man, who is always unnamed. He brings his chief of security, who settles in just over his left shoulder. Laura, unfortunately, being relatively unpopular amongst the Gango, has no one but herself. The Toreador primogen is accompanied by Donovan, the sheriff. So, without beating a dead horse too much, you realize that most of the important members of the tower are present. You don't see Morgaine's right-hand woman, Jessica, representing Morgaine's interests. You don't see Pearl, who is a relatively well-known face among Morgaine's court. And unfortunately, though you try not to, you do see, in fact, Miss Opal, the Nosferatu primogen, comes in, flowers in her hair, smelling of fresh grave dirt, and looking immaculate in a beautiful copy, a dupe of a Chanel body sheath in lovely, luxurious black with white pearls, long opera gloves, and an actual cigarette in a cigarette holder, the long sort that's almost as long as the entirety of her forearm, the filter that she's puffing on. To say that her attire was anything but immaculate and beautiful would be completely wrong. She herself looks what it would appear as if you took the crypt keeper and bloated him in a swamp for several days till the skin was green as gray and filled with all manner of things. There's a few boils ready to burst, one right above her left eye, her cheek showing all the signs of the violence that was visited upon her before she was shoved into the swamp. And to add injury to all of the insult of her visage, her perfectly, immaculately untouched nose and lips, the most kissable lips you have ever seen on the most horrid version of a semblance of humanity you have ever come to know. So all in all, everyone's settling in. Everyone is preparing. And it's been a very long time since Prince Gibo has taken any action related to anything that has happened inside of the quarter. While you all have a few moments of quiet as everyone settles and whispers are had, is there anything that you all are attempting to say or work out amongst yourselves?
Well, just so real quick, is Salem here amongst us?
Not at all.
And are Abe and Bo still torpid?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe he mentioned
that covers me and Bo.
Yeah, I believe he mentioned that you two are lying on like 3 chairs, just so that you're not lying on the ground.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll just kind
of us.
I'll look over to the.
I guess me and Bo are just gonna be using that Brewha telepathy. You know, that thing all Brewhas have. You know.
Yeah, the Brewha hive mind.
Yeah, Brewha time. You know, that thing that used to be.
All right, I'll just I'll kind of. The 2 girls now get to see Evergreen being quite fucked up, still conscious, still on 1 chair rather than 3, but if 1 aggravated damage is lethal to a human, 6 times lethality has happened to Evergreen since you have seen him. And he'll just kind of shakily look over in their direction. I thought y'all got out. What happened?
They apparently changed their minds.
Mal's hair is as wild as you have ever seen it. It looks like, if you didn't know any better, there would be wind in the room, because there's still like little curls kind of here and there moving. And she's looking at you from underneath her eyelids. They don't understand what they done did. They gonna understand real soon.
Well, I'm just hoping I understand very soon. Because, he kind of looks out amongst the gathered notables. I got more and more questions as the second go by, and what answers I'm coming up with to myself they don't sound too good. What happened to Salem? Thought she was with you.
Diplomatic immunity, I would suppose.
Just kind of gives a subtle nod, then turns his head and spits a little vitae onto the floor. Well, wouldn't be the first time she walked out on us. Although, it is happy to see that this time you're going to sit here in the fire with me, Mal. Appreciate the company.
As you all are having a small bit of conversation, a just above short, just under tall woman walks in, her hair pulled up into a beehive of messy curls, soft and falling around her face, a pair of glasses that reflect all the torchlight as she draws closer, and adding injury to insult, she is completely and totally barefoot beneath a frock and a gown that is meant to go to the Met Gala. A frock and a gown that would not be out of place walking the red carpet. But she enters barefoot so that her footfalls are quiet, and she's holding her stilettos in her left hand as she enters, and a soft smile across her face as if she's preternaturally amused at everything. She crouches, looking at your face, making sure she sees you. And then she moves down the line, doing the exact same thing to everyone that is seated before the court. Just taking a moment to lean in close enough to inhale your perfume, and you to inhale her very expensive actual perfume. And she makes eye contact, looks from your chin to your brow, and makes sure that you are as hale and hearty as possible. And then she gets to Bo and Abe. She stands over them, looking down into their face, adjusting her glasses so she gets the fullness of them. As she looks back, there's a person speaking on your behalf as we speak. I just want to make sure that you are, in fact, members of Salem's temporary coterie to which she had watch over.
Yeah. Abe's glassy eyes just kind of stares at her.
That's us.
I see. So it was her failings that led you all astray into being anarchs.
No offense. I ain't no anarch.
There are a score of witnesses that would attest otherwise. but we'll get to that as we get to that. I'm just wanting to make sure that we do have the correct individuals and that there hasn't been a mistake. You all were at that deplorable substandard duplicate of the lamplighter, engaging in physical activities to earn the right of a rank within the anarch structure of New Orleans, correct?
We were trying to get out of there.
Oh, okay, understandable. And in your escape, you happen to defeat 14 different kindred and lay low 18 kindred in pursuit of escape and not gaining a rank within the anarch structure.
Ain't my fault those two black coffins over there don't know what's good for them.
Oh, so it was their fault. Excellent. Is there a responsibility? That's good to know. Ladies, you all were brought in under suspicion of aiding and abetting criminals to the tower. You all do understand that being part of the tower is in fact a voluntary, invite-only position, and that it may be rescinded based on actions at any point you decide, and we decide, correct?
No,
That
kind of
is-
size.
What I have been told.
Excellent.
Sophie. I ain't make no choice to leave the tower. All I ever been in this tower.
And did you know that these two individuals, he points towards Bo and Abe, were leading you all into joining the Anarchs and working against the tower?
No. I tried to tell them it's time to go. And them two was idiots.
I see. Okay. Very well.
I believe it was more they saw a fight. They wanted to fight. No real brain power included.
So they were not scrabbling for power within the Anarchs. They were simply fighting because that's what...
Yes,
That's quite confusing.
more brawn than brains.
That is quite confusing. Perhaps they should speak for themselves. After all, I would hate for Prince Guibault to pass judgment on those unable or unwilling to speak for themselves. And she leans down. Such a good, upstanding Christian boy, this Abe. He was here when my sire was the primogenitor of the clan. It is a shame what happens to those unwise in the ways of the night. I suppose that there should be something done so that they can at least verbally defend themselves. Oh, forgive me. I have not introduced myself. I have not had the opportunity. I am the Venture Primogen, Karen Chartrey. I am the right-hand adjutant to Prince Guibault. And I'm responsible for Seneschal Maldonado's recent appointment as Chancellor over the French Quarter in Calabalarchi's absence and Morgaine's destruction. I hope if you all are deemed worthy enough to survive tonight that we should engage in conversation afterwards. But for now, I must finish getting ready. I want to make sure that you all are properly appointed and aware of the general charges placed against you by several trustworthy witnesses. And as far as being a good host, are there any dietary restrictions?
None on my side.
Excellent. You do look worse for wear. I'm so sorry you, Mr. Warlord, are being held in such a discourteous position. However, you understand the threat to the tower that you pose, that your associates have led you into, and that, well, we do respect your position as Warlord of the Anarchs, the Warlord elect, and that your coterie of fellow anarchs did not have any intentions on defying and launching a rebellion. And as such, to prove that we are willing to rise above all of the clearly understood roles that each of you have played, I'll ensure that one of the staff members provide you with enough sustenance to rouse these two and, well, give you enough courage to bolster what comes next. Any requests? We do have a lovely fireman. There is a police officer, an off-duty police officer. And if I'm not mistaken, we do have several blondes and brunettes as well. Any preference?
Give me the officer.
Very well, very well. Ladies, we do have a lovely beer from one of the breweries further north. It's a new product brought in small batch. If you would prefer something less enlivening, would that be to your preference?
No, head tilts. Thinking about this. You mean I can get drunk?
Well, the alcohol content won't really do much for your system, but yes, it will allow a small dulling of, well, most things.
That's probably best then.
Very well. Very well. Allison.
Whatever my host deems appropriate.
Of course.
No particular restriction.
Excellent. I'll send the guests over with the servants over with the proper aperitif. And is there any dietary and she literally wiggles her fingers over Bo and Abe. Of these two?
As far as I'm aware, they're the type to dive into a trash can and find something edible.
Excellent. I'm sorry we don't have any homeless present currently. It's a surprising turn of affairs that our homeless vintages, our houseless individual vintages are running extraordinarily short. But I'll find something approximate. And she saunters off once more, and bare feet did not attract attention. Her footfalls far quieter than they should be, and she disappears back into the monstrosity that is Prince Gibo's plantation home. Even dead, the sweltering heat is something that you notice. Though being dead and without a circulation, that sweltering heat is a beautiful thing. It helps you feel almost human. And while you'll never truly sweat and perspire, it is surprisingly warmer here than in the city proper. And while she disappears, you have a few moments. Is there anything else you all would like to discuss? Especially include anything that's been revealed.
Towards Evergreen. I don't know whether to be proud you won or mad that you won getting us into this bullshit. We told you it was time to go.
Yeah. I think we would have been in on this kind of bullshit regardless of whether or not I left, given that you two are here. Regardless of how things turned out, I think these chairs was where we were going anyways.
So that being said, what we gonna say for ourselves then? Whoever they said, we anarch. Apparently.
Yeah, well.
These two.
I don't know necessarily what to say. This is kind of seeming like a guilty till proven innocent situation. At least from what what she said, Salem ain't abandoned us, so that's a good thing. We just we gotta figure out how to tell them we're not what they say we are, and actually get it across.
Moments later. Go right ahead.
The problem with that is we already have one strike against us for burning down the damn lamplighter.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily in the mindset of believing that. Well,
Moments later, an entourage of white jacketed, waistcoat jacketed, black slacks, white gloved wearing, clear mortals arrive, each of them holding either several moist beer bottles on silver trays or these near gallon-sized bags filled with the brightest, freshest looking blood, as if it has just been obtained and hasn't had an opportunity to be exposed to air, so there's no drying or coagulating happening. It is that good, flowing, freshly obtained stuff. And adding injury to insult of that image of them walking with these gallon-sized bags of freshly squeezed human go juice, they have what has been known in the news as vampire straws, stainless steel straw sharpened on one end so that you can puncture flesh if need be. And then the last two are following along with these wax capped vials about the size of a pack of socks from Walmart, but they're clearly glass and they're capped with wax and frosted. They stop above Bo and Abe with the wax capped vials and take the vampire straws, placing it into their mouth, and begin stabbing the wax on the vials and allowing them to enter into their gullets. It is the most interesting thing you've seen. It's almost like watching a baby feed from a bottle, if that bottle could kill a normal person. The beers are walked around to Mal and Reverend Noel. When they pop the cap using the church key, there's a refreshing psst. And lastly but not leastly, the huge gallon bag of freshly obtained vitae is walked directly in front of Evergreen, and the vampire straw stabbed in and it's held forward so he has to lean forward and sip from the straw. When you're ready, madam. And they hold the bottle so they can begin pouring with two hands into your lips if you like.
Her disgruntled state of being here. This reminds her of somewhat of a kegger when she was in didn't go to college but hung out on college campuses, and leans forward to accept the bottle.
Reverend Noel.
She will smile politely and thank her server and lean forward and take a sip.
There is no way that this should ever be being a member of the Hakata, you've heard of blood wine. It's always been something that's been too expensive to trade for, actually. It is roughly equivalent to an equal for a trivial boon for half a bottle, i.e. 2 glasses of blood wine. You're all but indentured temporarily to some Tremere who would have you do all manner of things. But this is clearly a well-crafted beer. This is clearly an alcoholic beverage which has enough satiation to it that it is equal to drinking a draught from an actual living person. It is all of the warm, exciting feelings of sinking fang into a person. And for a member of the Hakata, a member of the New Orleans Hakata, that is not typically done. You all avoid as often as possible because with every single solitary attempt that you've made, even against yourself, the fear of everlasting torment, not dying, but literally the worst pain that you have ever experienced, run through with all of the usual pleasures of the kiss. It tears the soul in two, and yet it still triggers all of those pleasure centers in the brain. It is the worst sort of thing. You can. There's no way to really express what that feels like. And so, not out of any sense of kindness, but it's something that most humans will not forget. The fugue that comes with the kiss is completely gone when you feed from a living person, and it makes you stand out. Locals know locals, and there's no amount of goodwill that would hide you doing that level of dirt to someone. So in order to keep your lovely faces out of the public gossip, you refrain unless of course you have every intentions of killing that person. And this is that, with none of that. Now, where am I going to bury the body? I know that lot 2A has been dug, but then they're supposed to have an early morning. And what if it rains? And so now I have to go out to the swamp. But if I go out to the swamp, then there's someone who can see me putting them in the car. And it's just so much fucking work. You could really earnestly do with having an actual crematorium on premises. That's something you may need to look into. But in the offing of all of those thoughts dancing around the inside of your skull, this is that. This is all of that joy with none of the legwork necessary. And Mallory, would you be so kind as go ahead and roll your composure and auspics as the first good beer you've been able to taste hits your lips with all the punch and pack of feeding from your beloved victim of the evening. And while Mal rolls their composure plus auspics, Bo, Abe, would you be so kind as to roll your resolve plus composure? Your DC is 3.
sorry, was muted. What is our current hunger?
What was it at?
Consider your current hunger at 5.
Okay. 7 successes.
No, that's 3 success. You got a dice pool of 7.
Oh. I am unable to read this bot.
Nah, it's fine. It's a good bot. It's fine.
You just gotta pet it, give it a cookie.
I miss the old bot.
The old bot's still here.
It's
He's
still there. It just doesn't like you.
Yeah.
Not
Just
sure
look at
what
the
it is.
results.
There's got to be a Discord setting somewhere, but I don't know which one it is to lead you in the right direction. Bo, we're waiting for resolve and composure.
I was looking for the hunger on this dice roller, but I don't see it.
If you tab, well, depending on which one you use, and all of them that you use, either if you're using Incanu or Realm, you're gonna tab and with Realm, you're gonna do V roll. You're gonna do /V, and it's gonna bring up your V options. So you're gonna tap roll. You're gonna select your total dice pool, tab over, and then you can either pick your hunger or your difficulty to go next. Then tab over and then enter whatever one you had not entered. It's in the options.
That didn't work. Okay, let's try that again. Perfect. There we go. That was terrible.
Alright, Bo, I'm ready for you to just tear apart this entire area.
Oh. Fuck. Not again.
That's a lot of not bad in that roll.
I feel sorry for whoever did.
On the bride's side, they're chained?
He's a brouhaha.
Alright.
So, still chained.
Shit.
They were probably expecting this. It's fine.
You do remember me ripping down the actual ceiling, right?
Right, but we're also in a room full of vampires who have experienced frenzied vampires. I like to think they're prepared.
Usually the idea, considering we might be killed, they might not worry too deeply about it. Just kind of putting it out there.
There is no way to properly encapsulate what happens when the beer hits your lips, Mal. But we're going to try anyway. So as the cool, refreshing beer slides across your lips, you are immediately teleported to a cold, inhospitable ocean. The moon is high, shining down on your head. It lights up the night. You're not worried about what's out there in the shadows, because right in front of you is a roiling, boiling, icicle-laden ocean. It's like when you go down to the Gulf, you can look out and see forever. Except for now, when you go out and look to see forever across all of that water, the only thing that keeps coming back to you is the whispered word, death. The only thing that confronts you in this moment is the whispered word, death, over and over, as each of the waves break against the shore and spray cold in your general direction. Just that whispered word from the waves, from the wind. And you decide you've had enough of enough, and you turn around and you see your son, your child, chained and being fed on with an IV that's feeding hundreds of thousands of people, suckling and sipping at each of the drops being pulled forth from him. Adding injury to insult, he's not dying because of all of these people sipping and supping from him. His auburn, almost reddish hair, you can remember what he was like when you taught him how to ride the bike, and you remember how many times he fell and kept getting back up because he wanted you to smile and say that I'm proud of you. You're not sure how you know that, but you know that. But He's not dying. He's not fading away. He's not being sucked dry like a Capri Sun because, well, not really him that everyone's sucking on. He's the filter. What everyone's sipping on and slurping on is power. It is old, angry power. Parovich was a well enough known Nosferatu that his name alone brings up images of Nosferatu solidarity. He left Gary. He left Prince Modius when Loden stepped on his neck. He left Modius because he sought to create something that no one could take. An actual full-fledged sect of Nosferatu. And he settled in Milwaukee. Hey, why are you in Milwaukee? There's nothing good in Milwaukee. Well, there's nothing in Milwaukee except for cheese, and the beer tastes so well. And you're brought back to this moment, to now, and where you are with the snarling visage of Bo struggling against the change to sit up. Bo, with that failure, here's what you need to do. Drink until you can't drink anymore. Here's what you need to do. Rend, gnash, and tear. Your darkest impulses, your drives of your beast, sit you up nearly upright. You look like the Undertaker in a non-comical, non-pre-planned manner. The chains wrapped around you are annoyances and nuisance. Your hands across your chest as if you are an old mummy from ancient Egypt and all the movies that were based on that lie. And the one thing you need is more of what you drank, and to drink until there's no vitae or blood left in anything or anyone within your immediate vicinity. Abe, that's some good shit. It literally brought you up out of nothing. That's what torpor is, the nothing of you and your beast having a conversation. Endlessly, all the drives, the intrusive thoughts of your beast bombarding you from every angle. The worst moments of your life where you didn't act selfishly to protect your interests and bad things happen, bombarding you because the beast is the worst sort of counselor. It is your number one fan so long as you give it its way. Every instance where you've held back, every instance where you didn't give in, it has spent the forever of you being in torpor assailing you with it. And while you were in the nothing, while you were dead to the world and yet still present, the physical senses, the physical signals and messages of your corpse, of your body, were still bleeding through the nothing. And there was nothing in this world or the next you could do to stop them or shut them out. You saw everything, you heard everything, you felt everything, but it's all jumbled together in this mixed mash of dream and reality, the sound of your beast and the absence of everything, into this jambalaya of confusion and enmity at yourself and the decisions you've made to get you here. But still an overall enmity. You need revenge because, well, the only thing's gonna make you feel better. But then you're gonna be smart about it. You got time. As long as you got time, you can make things work. Your beast doesn't force you into anything. It doesn't take the driver's seat. It doesn't drive you forward, but it is still there nettling you and bothersome. And then Evergreen.
And then Evergreen?
And then Evergreen. It'd be a lie saying that this isn't good. It'd be a lie saying that drinking down the last life's blood of a firefighter officer isn't tasty. But knowing, having experienced the difference between simple blood and life's blood, that arterial mixing of things, you know that wherever they got this huge quantity of blood from, there won't be seconds from this particular donor. You know, there won't be a return visit unless, of course, they manage to save a little somewhere, but then it won't taste the same.
just a very, once I get to the bottom of the barrel, so to speak, just a very, like, quiet, almost muttered, you know, thank you for the meal. You wouldn't happen to know if they're gonna give him a burial, would you?
I'm sorry, I don't believe I do. Would you like another draught or two? The meeting hasn't started yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I would.
Excellent. I'll go fetch that for you. Ladies, if you would like, you may, due to drinking, if you're going to drink the entirety of the bottle, you may lower your hunger up to 2. Just for your
Fabulous.
Just for your mechanical notation. And
If it's only at 1, do I just leave it at 1, or do I go to 0?
you're at 1.
Got to do that good kill. If you want to go to 0. No, wait. Ignore me.
I want to test the limits of the chains or handcuffs. Is this something I can get break with just strength alone, if need be? Or something I might need a potent serve?
You would definitely need potence.
Okay.
As you push and strain against the chains, it is clear that they have dealt with kindred before. It is clear that they had some expectations as to what they would be dealing with here in the here and now. And as you're taking in the stock of how well made these chains are, you realize that Uriah Travers is here, Prince Gibo's favorite scourge. You realize that all of the various Primogen are gathered here. You realize that you are in a place that is nowhere near where you were when you were torpid. And you realize that you and your coterie are front and center.
Is this one of those, the real handcuffs of the situation you're in, not what's around your wrist type deals?
Oh no, it is very much, you are handcuffed, you are chained, you are shackled. And having had very long conversations with just you and your beast, what you do next is entirely up to you. And speaking of what we do next, it is 37 after the hour. Let's take a 10 and be back here at 47 after.
Nah. That's because I don't trust people.
Neither do I, but I'm more than willing to give the benefit of the doubt.
It's a happy thing that everybody in this VC has ceased to be defined as people.
I just wanted to share what I was met with when I was going on my break. Don't worry, it wasn't bad. It was very, very cute. There was a little fluffy being with his paws on the glass waiting for me to come out of the break because there's a door between the office and the main part of the house. So he knew I was in here. My one of my cats, he was kind of like peeking through the glass waiting for me to come out for break.
That's adorable. All right. Last thing before we get back into it, I want everyone to be aware, if you are not aware, spiders have paws and are thusly adorable.
That's completely a misnomer, completely inaccurate, but to each their own. So enjoy your spiders, enjoy what you find attractive and cute about them. Just remember, the drow thought the same thing about Loth. Oh, she's great. She won't ever turn evil. She won't ever.
Oilo. Don't shit talk sexy spider mommy.
Hey, there's a lot of long, very long lore about that that I have digested.
So, I'm thinking that everyone's back and amenable to beginning.
Let's go.
Bo.
Yes.
Well, you've been fairly silent. Just want to make sure that you were still back. All right. So when we last
No, I've been back.
left, when we stepped away for a moment of respite, there was a request for another drop. There was a momentary understanding of what you all are imbibing. There was a realization. And in levels of triage, this would be at all hands on deck under most normal situations, most average situations, most abnormal situations. This would be at all hands on deck. You each have seen what a conscious-minded Bo might get up to. You've each witnessed the ferocity inherent. Him snapping himself up, at least sitting, eyes wide, fangs bared, saliva flying, fast and furious. The fact that there's no one home behind those eyes. The fact that the lights are on. His eyes are open. But there is no movement. No one inside dancing along to Taylor Swift. No one inside spinning the hamster wheel. It is normally and abnormally a cause for existential dread. Because one alone with an empty vessel like that of any kindred being piloted by invisible hands, or worse yet, piloted by all of their worst intentions for the world, is literally not being faster than the bear and not being faster than the person next to you. What, if anything, is anyone attempting, saying, or doing?
After noticing,
Can I heal and while I'm in frenzy?
No.
Okay, I'm trying to pull the chains off the wall.
Well, you're wrapped in chain and it's linked through the folding chair that you're laying across.
Can I break the chairs?
One way to find out, declare your action and then we'll let fly. And while that is being decided and declared, what is everyone else doing?
I've got a very, stupid question.
it's
When you
never
say folding chair, do you mean one of those, steel chairs, or do you mean a lawn chair?
Steel.
Okay.
we're not important enough. We're not important enough to get the plastic lawn chair. Are you kidding me? Just kind of seeing that the very shark-like lack of reflection, lack of sapience in Bo's eyes, and I suppose now seeing him start to struggle, just Evergreen begins I suppose shuffling himself towards Bo. Just, God damn it, Bo, we talked about this. Soldier, get your shit in line. He's attempting to kind of shuffle his way over there because he knows what's about to happen and he needs to intercede it, otherwise everything's going to go to hell.
He was just staring off in the distance, 1,000-yard stare, attempting to compose himself for what is to come. Completely ignoring the guy that I think is like less than 5 feet away from him, snarling.
Harper is going to do her best to scoot away.
Agreed.
Like
That is what Mal is doing. She has gripped the chair with her hands and starts to bounce it away from Bo.
All right.
Yes, just like that.
Bo, your declared action is
His declared action is to rip the steel chair from the chain to get free, so that he can have more vitae.
all right. That's such a calm, dainty way of putting that across. Sure, you don't want to add a little more a little more gruff, a little more. All of your darker impulses are riding you as if you're the only horse available in a no horse town. All of Bo's pent up frustrations that he has not found a way to vent are crawling over him, piloting him like a puppet, and literally just as offensively stated as Samuel L. Jackson in The Other Guys. If I wanted to hear shit from you, I'd stick my hand up your ass and move your mouth like a puppet. That's what your beast is literally doing. His worst self, not his everyday I'm going to put my fist through someone's face self. His worst things, not the publicly accessible, easy, dredged up moments of calmly causing damage and grievous harm. Those things that he represses. Even those deep down intrusive thoughts that even he doesn't let anyone know exist in his head, have literally fought their way through his most sensitive of entrances and are piloting him like they stole him, because they did.
Okay. Is the chain bolted to the ground, or is it just wrapped gently through the chairs?
Just loop through the chairs and around him. Imagine.
So it's not bolted into the concrete?
No.
Okay. All right. All right. In that case, the chair where my legs are, I'm going to rip the top off of that chair, rip the seat from the one where my back is, where my head is, back and head, and I'm going to roll off of the chair and attack the first blood bag that's near me.
All right, way to go, Abe.
Abe over there, just literally sitting calmly, just kumbaya, hoosa, just out of nowhere, fucking.
How's he feeling on Abigail?
He's attempting to jump Abe from what he said.
All right, so that being the case, would you be so kind as to roll your strength plus potence as high as you possibly can?
In response, would Abe be able to just kick him in the fucking face as he's lunged at?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, your strength and potence is, of course, still subject to the fact that you are impaired. So don't forget your -2. Let fly. When you're ready.
Just strength and potence, not brawl or anything?
No, because you'd be breaking the chains as you do so. Both of you guys are rolling strength and potence for your results. You're -2 because of the impairment of being beaten into torpor with each other and by each other. And there's no way you can really brawl and, shackled up and chained like a cosplayer attempting to be the mummy from any of the 90s mummies cartoons that existed.
2 successes.
You got this, Bo.
Is Evergreen literally rooting for everyone? I don't care what happens, as long as someone loses.
Hey, I'm attempting to intercede. I just don't have super strength, so my dumb ass is tied to a chair.
So here's what happens. Ian gets in between us. He gets spat on and kicked in the face.
I get kicked in the back of the head while my throat is ripped out. Yay.
Congratulations!
No, fuck you. All I can do is hop, scoot, okay?
So, as is always the case, when chaos is afoot, when violence is in the offing, snarling, slavering, and otherwise purposefully intending to drain his heart's content, Bo snaps the chains and hurls himself towards the nearest source of attack. Unfortunately for him, the nearest source of attack is in fact Bo. So Change, still holding his hands pressed against his chest, Change loosely holding his legs together, he launches himself like a torpedo, breaking the chairs that he was, resting upon or loosely leashed to. Bo snaps the chains around his legs and throws his feet forward, just missing the face that he once used as a battering ram as Bo lands atop Abe. You've seen those horrible games where people try to empty their dish of wet, moist, mucking everything using no utensils or their hands, face forced into just a pile of beans and ketchup and salsa and picante and all manner of things that are designed to be wet, sticky, and mildly texturally bothersome. That's what you all witness as Bo has his way with Abe. The struggles of two titanic and yet injured individuals, the thing of horror movies, the thing of dread. The ick factor is high because you're not watching some unknown individual out there in the dark, some faceless entity be attacked by the beast. You're watching Reverend Abe cease to be. You're watching Reverend Abe, who was there for you all, leading you out of the fire, standing shoulder to shoulder with you through the chaos of what happened to the lamplighter. You're watching Reverend Abe, who you've all known and dealt with for the last few decades, several decades in some cases, who you fought with, bled with, cease to be. Unfortunately, like all good things, even the frenzy comes to an end. Like all things, there is a finite amount of sheer bestial fury available to most beings. And while Bo's reservoir of rage seems unending, even that has a stop point, a point where I can't eat another bite. The question is, does Bo push through that Because once he reaches hunger 1, once his beast has drunk most of its fill, would you be so kind as to roll your 1/3 humanity plus your unspent willpower? This, because it is not physical and is not a roll in the standard, is not victim or privy to the impairment of the -2. Your DC.
Okay, so 1/3 my humanity and willpower, right?
Yes. Your unspent willpower.
All right, let me go to willpower. Okay, and no, I don't drink. I do not juice box ape.
Damn it. Unfunny.
Your beast urges you on. You sip a second longer. You sip a moment longer, telling yourself, no, we're not gonna. 2 successes is 1 shy, by the way. But you don't do the dirty sip. You roll off just in time for Uriah to close the distance far slower than what he's saying would seem to convey. You guys you can't be doing that. We got to conduct a right upstanding trial, then we can get a chance to kill you guys. First the trial, then the staking and the suntan. What are you? And he pulls you off and lifts you up with all of the care and concern of someone who was hoping you went ahead and did it, making his job all the easier. Even though he's professing care and concern that you have a fair trial and then punishment, he clearly is happy with the result. The smile on his face is hard to really write because it's not a wide tooth open smile of enjoyment. It's that little knife's edge of a twist. It's a razor line of enjoyment that's leaking over him. And you can tell as he lifts you up that he is seriously contemplating accidentally dropping you back on the wound so that you can sink your fangs again. It's just the way that he's moving, he'd much rather not pull you off until you've gone too far. Death is never far enough for certain people. And for him, it is clear and obvious that he was hoping that you'd... Well, you didn't, so there's no scan off of his back. There's no... And he sits you in the chair, oh so gingerly, like you're a beloved pet at this point, being put in the big boy seat. Moves your legs and make sure you're sitting upright and won't have an easy time to fall over. And then he looks at Abe. Generally, and for the most part, kindred do not fade away from being sanguinated. Typically. But Abe and Bo and Evergreen fought with everything they had and received all the trouble that was worth on their physical and to a lesser extent their mental forms. There is a cost to doing business, and that does not stop at combat and violence. There is a cost and a toll that it takes, and each of the three bear those scars on every portion of their being. Bo's sinking fang doing too aggravated. Was too aggravated too much. Bo drinking down what vitae was there was too vitae, too much, 2 draughts of vitae, too much. Abe's age means that if Bo and Abe survived the night with what Bo drank, not only the first steps of being bonded would be in place, but there would be an adoration between them. 1, because of the loss in one combat, and 2, because they were closer and understand each other on a level that most beings lack the intimacy to truly understand. And as you all watch Uriah sit Bo down and all but pat his head, and when I say all but, he actually does rest his hand on Bo's head to hold him still, and you can tell he's contemplating on whether he's going to run his fingers through the stubble that's growing back on Bo's head, or give it a nice pat like he would a well, though ill-behaving golden retriever. And the look is heavy because he's literally looking at his hand and looking at Bo, and you can tell that the impetus is there to, good boy, yeah. But don't do that anymore.
What's Abe's state currently?
Skeletal, I think.
Abe has lived
Almost.
nearly 100 years, and all of that is beginning to slowly occur over the body. Upon death, there's an immediate loss of weight for everything that exists, including the dead. Though for them, that weight, that 21 grams, is considerably less. It's like 7 grams that immediately disappears upon their death. But for them also, the age of their existence, them having outrun death as long as they have, begins to show in small little ways. And Abe is just old enough for those small little ways to be gruesome things. It's as if his body had been interred here in this spot for all the years of his existence. And you begin seeing the dehydration of muscle. You begin seeing the moistening and drying out of flesh. You begin to see the eyes begin to dissipate into the skull. And it's a slow thing, but it might as well be happening years by the second, because it effect is. You know that it won't be long till you'll be looking at a very wet and moist, slime-covered skeletal entity instead of Abe. And as this is no DVR show or a book you can close and walk away from, or just skip over the passages until you get to the point where it's over, you all are witness to the death of a kindred spirit.
Kind of continuing his hobble over during the pulling off and the sitting of Bo, just very much no, fuck, no. And then in a very, for those of you that have seen it, Boondock style, kind of the chair falls over and he slams onto the ground as Abe begins to desiccate and wither away in all the grotesque and yet strangely beautiful ways that kindred find their true death. He's just like, fuck, Abe, come on! He crawls over, and despite the pointlessness of it to all those that are aware, the inadequacy of, or rather the lateness of it, he kind of sits his very throat over Abe's mouth and attempts to nick himself on what remains of his fangs. Come on! And rips a hole into his own own neck as he's trying to force feed the corpse. After a few moments of bleeding and the finishing of whatever process is going on, his very vocal denials, his anger in his voice and in his frame, the tenseness kind of fades away as he, realizing it's too late, uses his blood to mend the very wound he had just created and just very quietly lies there on the floor. Ian Everett Green has successfully failed one of his convictions. In allowing, or rather, in failing to defend his ally from, amusingly, his ally, he has failed to defend his ally. And until, I presume, he is moved, that is where he will remain.
Mal. Oh. Reverend Noel. Watching the balance of what the beast can do. Watching what it can drive either of you all to do. Watching what the outcome of missteps in the face of the beast might do. Is there anything, as you all watch that and Evergreen, Vitae tinged tears and all, attempt to bring back, hey, is there anything, any solace, any milk of human kindness that you might attempt to offer or attempt to hold for yourself?
Just coming back to himself, looks around, sees the scene, the look of horror, something that you don't usually see from Bo. A look of horror comes across his face, and he immediately starts looking at the corner wall and just starts punching his way through it. A different type of frenzy.
Do remember that he's chained. His arms are across his chest, the chains wrapped around them. Uriah's hand on his head. He's sitting and able to see this, but he is in fact sitting with the chain still wrapped around him. The vitae of Abe's life still there at the corner of his mouth and dancing lightly across his tongue. He knows what it was like to fight before there were the prevalence of automatic rifles. He knows what it was like to be hip deep in the muck and mire. He knows what it was like when New Orleans was still a hustling and bustling and building thing upon itself. All of the age of the quarter is still there for all to see, but in the outlying suburbs, the planned communities, the roadways being, well, paved and repaved, the new stuff, the water resistant stuff that they were putting down, the porous stuff that they were adding to the roads to keep the water from settling as it does in various places. He remembers watching the city grow around him while still trying to survive through the pains of the battles he had lived through thus far. And he realizes those are not his memories.
I'm assuming that since Mal can see spirits anyway, She's looking for Abe to make sure that he made it safely across and away from his body.
Be so kind as to go ahead and roll your wits plus auspics.
Would a cult help at all, or is it just with Synospix?
Just wits and auspics.
Do they have any say? I mean, if they have something, they would.
No more of those moments, things that could be easily missed, especially in them where you all are. It's an easy thing to miss. For those paying even the remotest attention to Mal, watches as her eyes cataract over, as her sense the unseen clicks into place, as her senses attune to realms and domains beyond our own ability to really grasp. That deadening of herself, that touching oblivion, while not as horrendous emotionally as watching the beast pilot Bo, is no less jarring. Mal has always had a weird smile, but there is a happiness and a liveliness to them that is hard to put your finger on. It's like the kid that is absolutely petrified of clowns but loves going to the circus and being scared absolutely shitless. In fact, there's been many instances where that has exactly been the result. But they keep asking to go back in that same lopsided, fearful smile, and that's where you see it. It is that smile that knows too much and still does it anyway. That adds to their liveliness, that adds to their semblance of being almost human enough. Watching their eyes go dead and peer into that space between this and everything that comes after causes chills and spiders crawl up and down the spine. And Abe, would you be so kind as to enlighten us?
So, it does not take long for Abe to look down at his body, to look to his hands, and then to look at his surroundings, possibly taking note of the people that very keenly can see him. And then there's just this... No one in the coterie, and very few people still living, have ever seen Abe look like this. His entire face goes that very stereotypical red. All the veins, more so than you have seen in the past, begin to kind of bulge as he lunges towards Bo in an attempt to strangle him. And he is just unleashing a tirade of vitriolic hate towards this they're not words that I, as a player, are comfortable saying. I do not feel comfortable unleashing that level of sheer vitriol in any level of company. So I'll let you leave your imagination to do it. And I assume he is finding it impossible to actually harm Bo in any capacity.
I don't know. Angry enough spirits might just do a little bit of damage. But looking at that Mal at first is grinning something huge and about to laugh because she sees him, but then hearing the words coming out of his mouth, she covers her own mouth. I didn't know you knew them words.
And the carefully chosen and carefully that accent that he tends to carry, that kind of very that type that gives you a very feel to it. He's dropped it. He's gone to his very natural, deep, southern, ever so slight, hard to understand tang from the early 1920s. He has dropped all facades and is letting it bear towards Bo and all that can see and hear.
Well, buffeted by a strange rousing of the wind, chained as he is, his own internal fury having its way with him, not the unconscious, undirected malevolence of his beast, but the pure, true excoriating of his conscious mind having its way with him. All of the guilt that we normally carry, compounded by the guilt of this moment, by the feeling of what he's done. That was a comrade, that was a compatriot. And knowing that the beast does not give one flying half a consideration towards comrades, family, friends, compatriots. None of those words mean anything except for food now, food when desperate, food when absolutely famished. Yet the conscious mind knows. Conscious mind is not as inherently selfish as that, because it takes solace in those definitions, in those beings and entities that hold those roles. And there is a sadness at the loss of any of them. There's also the understanding. Every kindred present is death. Every kindred. And they are all lying to themselves by thinking there's a moment in their existence where they are not that. And as everyone's watching the winds buffet, as Bo attempts to raise his chains clinking, and Mal speaking towards them, and Reverend Noel struck deaf and dumb, watching the outcome of beast at play, as Evergreen empties his heart and ethics there in an attempt to resurrect the desiccating corpse of Abe. And Uriah looks on, a sense of, yeah, my dog bit you. They didn't mean to bite you. All their shots are up to date. That just pleased as punch at the level of dismay and damage caused. And while everyone's taking in the show, as it were, he actually goes ahead and strokes the back of Bo's head, as you would a good upstanding mastiff. The hair too short for you to really run your fingers through it, but that soothing of the pet and yourself as you rub the head just behind the ears where the dog can get to. And he says, these things happen. Better you did it than what we were going to do. Because, oh my God, have you seen what it's like to keep a kindred alive when you begin removing the skin and the muscles? Slowly, you gotta go slowly so the shock doesn't cause them to respond. That's part of what I'm hoping Gibo allows me to do. He likes when I make paintings with the results, with the innards. You'll grow them back again and again until the piece is finished. I have a painting that I've been trying to work on, and I know you have just the right amount of violence. Then while he's saying this low enough so that only Bo can hear, everyone's watching his lips move and him directing whatever it is that he's saying directly at Bo. Even Evergreen in his spilled over position, gaining more semblance of himself and pulling himself back from the precipice of what's actually happened, realizes that Uriah is taking pointed, focused attention on Bo. There's something unseemly about it. It's almost as if you're peering into an intimate moment between lovers. It's a one-sided intimacy, but it is no less intimate. Uriah is incidentally revealing part of why he is in fact the madman, why he is in fact an effective scourge, because he enjoys and loves what that pain can elicit. The immortality or promised immortality of kindred only prolonging how much pain he can inflict and watch. And while most eyes are on Uriah and Bo, many purposely trying to ignore the sanguination of immortality that was Abe, Evergreen, you realize that you recognize those shoes. They're a pair of red alligator loafers. You recognize those slacks. And you recognize the hand resting on your shoulder as Gibo leans down and whispers into your ear. I need you as I've never needed you before. We have to appease the public and put on a show. I need you proud. I need you vainglorious. I need you to once more help me shape the middle. And louder still, there's no way, no reason to be treating our guests like this. Anarchs are as welcome as they have always been here in the tower. And he sits Evergreen up in the chair. And he looks down at Abe. Well, whatever the toll tonight needs to take, they've already paid a portion of that. Immortality until proven otherwise once again. Kindred of the Crescent City, we are here to pass judgment on these anarchs for what they have dared in our midst. From the attack on the princess of the quarter, while trying to ameliorate the raised hackles of the anarchs of our fair city, and the declaration of war that was the warring of anarch against anarch to claim the title of warlord. We could turn a blind eye. We could ignore as much as we possibly can. But in light of what they have done as a sect of rebellious children, and what they have continued to do in light of the absence of our young prince of the quarter, we need to make an example that we will not be pushed, that the traditions are here to protect. And even though they have declined our caring invite into our bosom, our protection, and the sanctity of the tower, that we will do what we need to do to assure the domestic tranquility. We will do unto them what they would do unto us. Take everything. And in the same breath, in the same moment, we are not monsters. We are not wild, foolish children scrabbling in the dark. We know the way. The traditions keep us safe. They keep all of us safe, even those who deny our right to keep us safe. Even though we would deny fellowship with, it keeps us safe. So we will not descend into just sheer mindless violence. And he looks much more at Abe, that the anarchs revel in. We will ask for an accounting of their actions, and perhaps somewhere along the way we will find a measure of mercy in our heart. After all, being as they're no longer tower, we truly have no right to do more than what is balanced and needed. So, after our already exciting show of what anarchs are capable of, do you forgive me, Mr. Warlord, is there anything you, as an upstanding member of the anarchs, have to say in your defense?
Just kind of, as he's been set up, is whispered into the ear this request, this demand, this order. Up until this point, his head's still been hanging low, kind of looking to the ground, but as he's been directly addressed now, he just kind of subtly bobs his head in a nod, and it speeds up for a half second before he gives a full hearty nod and looks up towards Guibault. A smile plastered on his face, the red stain of vitae still crossing across his neck, and a gruesome mimicry of a smile. Yeah, I have a few things I'd like to say in defense of us. So far, I would say my people, my anarchs, ain't done nothing in the way of killing none of y'all. Just a moment. My coterie ain't necessarily spilled none of your blood, but, you know, well, there was that fire, wasn't there? That is unfortunate. That is very unfortunate, and I'm so sorry that happened. So sorry that happened to your little building, and, well, all those people died within it. All those upstanding Camarilla citizens. That was so terrible. I mean, we was all there for it. Me, these 4, well, no, 3 now, and Salem. We were there for them. And, you know, we were there for this get-together, too. You know, but I don't think y'all necessarily have any proof that we have directly done anything crazy. Beyond this little terrible upset with your witnesses that we decided amongst ourselves who was gonna be what. And sure, I may have shirked off the love and embrace of the Camarilla, but I believe, he looks down at the corpse, I believe, at least in my own humble opinion, we already paid the price for stepping out of your light. and stepping into what it is we have done, and stepping into what it is apparently we have declared. Now, I suppose also we're underneath your mercy, as was declared by your prince. So, I look forward to seeing what it is exactly you decide is the price we must pay beyond what has already been paid. Because, as was very evident to everybody in this room, your scourge could have stepped in far faster. And as the Bible says, as the Bible says, ain't nothing more evil than good men that let bad things happen. The apathy of good men is the greatest sin. The inaction is the greatest sin. But, this is a Towerite courtroom, and I believe I've already said my piece a little bit too much, so I'll leave the stage to you all. Back to you, Gibbo.
Prince Gable.
Prince Gibbo.
Resting his hands on both of your shoulders, he looks towards the Primogen, who are mulling things over and watching the interactions. I say death. I say true and final death. You see here, these anarchs are willing to risk us all. For what? The cat's away so the mice will play. Isn't it bad enough that we allow them in our city? We allow them to dig in. We allow them to have the freedom that they so clamor for, provided they adhere to the simple rights and rules of the tradition. We give them every opportunity to find themselves, to pull themselves up, to find some reason that they deserve the immortality that they've been granted. And this is the result. A risk to our city, a risk to our very rich and potential future. And what do we get? Our hospitality thrown back in our face. Our right of destruction wield willy-nilly, carefree. Our right of accounting discarded, tossed away. Our tradition of the masquerade itself pissed on, spat upon. I say death. But I'm a merciful prince. Unlike that Popinjay Calabalarshi, this does not need to be a spectacle. This does not need to be anything, well, too memorable. And he looks at Abe's desiccating corpse once more. You three, have you nothing to say for yourselves? Your leader clearly has implicated you all in all of the wrong that has risked our city. Have you no last words?
Mallory has had this look of confusion on her face this whole time. I know we was allowed to speak. Y'all told him to speak. He don't speak for me.
Just say
Tell
your
me
piece.
what.
Don't fiddle with the detail.
You don't done said enough. You shush. Getting me in goddamn trouble. I told your ass we should leave when it seemed everything was going wrong. And you ran back to get them two idiots. One of them is dead and the other one over there fucking traumatized for what he did. We wouldn't be in this mess if it wasn't for them two. If it wasn't for you running back in that motherfucking burning building trying to play hero. We left and had to come back and get y'all. Don't tell me what not to say or what to say. You don't know me like that. I ain't no anarch.
Just kind of muttered under his breath. You know what they say about sinking ships and rats?
She heard that and goes, your mama.
Rolls up from the chair and still sees the chains around him, starting to finally come back to himself. Look, I'm mostly dead. I'm broken. I killed my comrade. Whatever you gotta do, just do it. I don't have time for this.
Her will smile as she is wont to do. It's been interesting past few nights. Absolutely. From the initial summons to meet at the lamplighter to receiving word that there may be some information that we would need at the apparent rumble the other night, to brawn over brains, the lust for fighting from our friend. Nothing that we can say will dissuade you from your course of action. Though, it would be remiss to say that all of us are anarchs, or have pledged our allegiance to their cause.
That all the way up, exactly.
Not even in your finest moment can you anarchs find unity. Your finest moment, you all laid low the grand hostess, the princess of the quarter. You all managed to collect enough of your brethren together in one place to have an election of sorts. Your strongest members. And with your success of barony, warlord, emissary, reeve, to further carve up our city, because this is New Orleans, this is a Camarilla city. Yet with your successes, even that, you can't find unity. Which is the reason why you all are as scattered like rats as you all are. We allow you to be here. And even in this, your moment of victory, you all chomp at the bit and bite each other. You scrabble and clamor for more of your own. And yeah, we might as well get on with it, right? Uriah, stop petting the man's head. Oh, sorry about that. Oh, this is going to be a lovely painting. and he takes a half a step away. You can tell he doesn't want to. He wants to keep doing what he's doing. His hand stroking and rubbing the back of Bo's head, getting acquainted with the feel of his skull, the muscles therein, just underneath the skin. It's by far one of the dirtiest things you've all seen. There's nothing even remotely sensual. There's nothing even remotely enjoyable about that. But there's something that you see in his willingness to touch the musculature, the muscle structures underneath the skin of his head, that just causes the bile to begin to bubble, causes the skin to feel a half an inch too tight in all the wrong places. It is clear that Uriah is in fact the madman that everyone has accused him of, because, well, that boy just ain't right. And the murmuring Primogen, and of all of them, the most loyal to Prince Guibo as far as anyone is aware, Laura, the Gangle Primogen, stands up, clearing her throat, her blonde tangled mess of hair, looking for all intents and purposes like one single sheet of wool draped down her back, dressed in her Puma tracksuit. My Prince Guibo, I know you said we'd offer mercy, but haven't you been merciful enough? I know you said that this is an example of them being disjointed, but what person with death being on the table wouldn't do their best to defend themselves? I think we should commend them for attempting to speak up for themselves. I think that we should be as cold and decisive as we need to be to send home the message that this is not the city for anarchs, that this is a Camarilla city. It always has been. You beat back the Sabbat. You almost completely destroyed the anarchs before they got started. And with the Prince of the Quarter, Calabalarshi, clearly being out of the picture, we see what Calabalarshi has done by allowing those kindred in the Quarter what freedoms he's allowed them. It's clear that they've been organizing as best that they are able. It's clear that they don't have any intentions of being honest or forthright. So why should we be merciful? Why shouldn't we just thank them for their service and give them clean deaths, quick deaths? Nothing torturous. She looks at Uriah and then back. Nothing horrendous. We don't have to be the monsters that they are claiming we are to drive kindred into their banners. We're better than that. A quick, clean death. And there we have it. We have 2 votes for death. Does anyone else speak for these kindred that, well, deserve, as Laura has so graciously, Primogen, Lord, forgive me, has so graciously suggested, a clean, quick death. No suffering, just gone. Father Iago, who typically speaks for Primogen Hurst, the Malkavian true Primogen, walks forward. But she is one of ours. I don't believe that our Primogen would appreciate just tossing one of ours. I say, cold mercy, trial by combat. Have them engage in fisticuffs. those who survive with no black eyes deserves to be one of us. Those who don't survive without any black eyes deserve a quick and painless death. Mercy, I say. Simple, straightforward mercy. The murmurs don't stop. In fact, they grow. And as they're murmuring and trying to decide on yay and nay, somewhere in between, can they jockey for a position? Can they claim some victory for themselves? The other primogens speak and mutter, just loud enough to be understood that they're speaking, and just quiet enough not to make out any intelligible words just yet. And Prisky Bo takes a step back, moving closer to the door, just as Primogen Chartry enters. On her hip, walking in her shadow, is Sin. Sin is, well, for those of you who have paid attention, Sin is, well, one of the roses. As unlike the other roses as night from day. He doesn't dress in tailored haute couture. He's not slim, trim with a swimmer's body like the Primogen. He's not a statuesque model like Morgaine. He is not even a prim and proper hidden jewel like Jessica. And he's most assuredly not the overly pretty badass that Donovan is. But he is clearly one of them. His poise and standing, the muscles underneath his... Would you be so kind as to describe yourself, Sin?
So, Sin is a man very clearly of Vietnamese descent. Mid-30s, short, almost spiky hair. He's built for hard labor. Very short, but incredibly stout. And very bulky. And tonight he is wearing a combination of combat boots, blue jeans, a button-up shirt, and a what's the word? Kind of like one of those belt holsters that has a pistol and a one of those old-fashioned batons. You know, not the extendo ones you have nowadays, but the actual tonfa. Both at his hip. And he is just following his Primogen. And scanning the room for threats. Which I'm sure he finds many. If you need like a example of maybe a physicality of someone to look up or what he might look like in terms of his build, look up a strongman known as Andrew Stumpy Rains for height and musculature.
Gibel turns his back towards the Primogen and the accused, and he leans in. Your Primogen is offered you as hostage. I thank you for your service. Everything is not as it seems, and you'll be informed later, but for now, intimidate the Primogen. Show off your well-to-do, well-trained ability to be more than what you seem. And he turns back to the Primogen. And while we understand and make our minds and use our unity, we are yet again presented with a threat in our midst. A would-be usurper. A would-be anarch. Too young to be of any mind whatsoever. Rebellious and wild. And he gives Sin a small push forward. There aren't supposed to be any here save us of standing. And as brave as a lion and bold as a tiger, he strides into our midst to rescue his compatriots. And Iago, you suggest mercy. I didn't know. There's no Bruja Primogen present, and I know Abe was a Bruja. We of the church often keep in contact with one another. Brother Abe will be sorely missed, but I know in his heart of hearts was mercy and kindness. I think we should inhabit those same principles. He was a just, upstanding, God-fearing man. He wouldn't hurt a fly nor speak a harsh word towards anyone. That alone deserves mercy, my prince. That alone. And while I know it's not expected, especially with our Primogen not on premises, but I cannot sit by and watch one of ours. He moves forward, resting his hands on Mal's shoulders, to be tossed into the trash bin. That's not where any child of Malcav belongs.
Mal looks up at the person touching her on the shoulder and gives him the biggest moon eyes she can possibly come up with. Almost putting her head on his wrist.
I'll do everything I can. So again, Prince Gibo, I ask for mercy before I tear your fucking throat out. Mercy, my prince. Mr. Caesarion, the Lasombre clearly heard that exchange and frowns. Your Primogen, your whoever he is, has a good point, Prince Gibo. There's no one speaking for, or who could speak for, the Bruja. There's no one. And the Gango Primogen is clearly more interested in blood. And while I don't have a voice as part of the official Primogen Council, I do have a voice that you've listened to before. No matter what they've done in the past, in the now we caught them. Your Scourge sent a message to the Anarchs. They've killed one of their own. They've ended an immortality right here in front of us. And anything but mercy makes us the monster. Their actions have been punished. And one of their own came to rescue them. That lets you know that they have some value and some honor. Perhaps we can reach a diplomatic end to these growing troubles. If you end them now, there is no chance of that. So, like Father Iago suggests, mercy. And as the votes go and move and dance and back forth, and people pull back their suggestions of mercy, some adding suggestions of mercy, some taking away their suggestion of death, would you all be so kind as to determine the outcome with each of you rolling 1d10 to add to your total dice pool?
Oh, yay.
Sin as well.
Yes.
And Sin is being claimed to be an anarch.
Yes.
Hey, boys. I got a crit. Let's go.
I should have actually made an anarch.
Look at it, boy. Hey, yo. I like where this is going. Oh, no.
Oh, whip her hand.
You had to say something.
Come on, Mal. You just had to go with.
Well, sadly, this is golf rules, so I think we actually lost.
Oh, no. We took too many putts.
Yeah. By the way, I just want to make it clear. Sin has not stopped staring at Father Yago this entire time.
I like to suggest that me and Bo actually do count as a crit. We both rolled 10.
I think we're counting the number on the die, yeah, not the actual outcome.
Muy
Oh,
depresioso.
The gathered kindred all have one important thing in common. Each of them have several blocks, some disparate and spread over the place, that they claim ownership and domain over. Each of them have a position in the Camarilla of note, and each of them have something to lose if the Anarchs really become a power. So their voices are self-interested. Their votes are self-interested. Their aims are selfish because they speak for more than just themselves and have more to lose than just their individual immortality. Yet, as they bicker, as they change their answers, as they decide to undecide and decide to redecide, it comes down, even with all of the enmity directed to mercy, to allow you all back into the night, to take your offering of death and look favorably on Bo for, even though being an Anarch, to at least do what a good upstanding Anarch would have done. It was clear that while the warlord is your leader, that Abe, the reverend who had been working beneath and behind the structures to lead you all astray, your spiritual guide led you into this life of crime. And hopefully, one day, you all will be able to earn your way back into the Camarilla. But for now, beaten and broken though you are, there's no reason to end your immortality. You've all paid the price. Your spiritual leader was killed in front of your eyes. There has been death. And you all will be escorted back to whatever places you call your havens and allowed to continue existing. The Primogen bid their adieu, each making their way out. Some feeling proud of their choices and rethinking their choices. Others unsure why the prince actually came to them and got them involved instead of just having his scourge kill you all without anyone noticing. Some happy that the prince has, for the first time in several decades, actually begun using a actual cooperation with the Primogen. Instead of letting his childer run roughshod over the quarter and over everywhere else, he's actually involved them in the decision making. Some of them have pledged more resources to protecting the prince and making sure that New Orleans is as free as possible of other anarchs. They're making sure that no childer of theirs gets out of hand, like Sin and Evergreen and that Bo. Oh yes, we'll definitely keep our eyes on him. And what would one expect from a Malkavian and a Hakata? They're barely Camarilla anyway. They might as well do exactly what the Brew have done. Fly and flee from responsibility amongst the Anarchs. And on it goes until they finally all leave. Once they leave, you all are escorted into the plantation house, into what is effectively a kitchen. The handcuffs are taken off. And the last few bottles of the 12 pack that was sent as a sampler are sitting on the counter. The staff are cleaning up and moving chairs, breaking down the temporary folding floor and taking down the mosquito net, and otherwise busying themselves outside and around you all. Once the doors close, first thing that Gibo does is undo the top two buttons of his shirt and take off his cufflinks, put them in his pocket. The next thing he does is stretch and wait for you all to come down from the high of that theater. Salem's waiting like the cat that got the canary. Like she knew the rough outcome, and she's remaining quiet because, well, Jameer are known for their secrets. And she is not alone in the kitchen. Stickler and Prot are there as well, waiting and watching. Once he's sure that the last Primogen member has driven off of his property, he sighs, resting both hands on the counter.
So I'm an Anarch now, sir, sire.
No, Sin. Your sire has stated that you are an up-and-comer, and you will not receive the acclaim that you deserve within the structures of your clan. They say that you have a good head on your shoulders, and that you are in fact a loyal member of the tower. Your loyalty needs to be absolute, because we are under attack. The cellularized nature of the Anarchs and what they have done with Morgaine is an affront that we cannot take. It is one step too far into a full outright war. And as you've all seen, the quarter is too beset by mortal authorities for an open, outright war to be fought, especially with them using guerrilla tactics. So we have to take the fight to them in a way that they will not expect. They understand and have found several ways of working around Sheriff Donovan. They fear Uriah, but have found ways to avoid him as much and as often as possible. Gatherings like the one you all took part of, by accident of course, are seldom, few and far between. So much so that the engagement you actually took part of was our doing, or more specifically, my lovely child Karen's doing. A plot and a plan to bring them into one place and potentially remove the actual barons, Baron Dutch and Shep Jennings. Unfortunately, they and their closest members are not as foolish as we had hoped. And so we installed a threat to their power, a fifth column, a baron of our choosing, and a warlord of our choosing. Initially, the warlord was supposed to be the first victim of this war and incite the others that this new baron was actually doing things, uniting people under his banner, pulling them together sussing out their network eventually. However, the warlord of the Anarchs is a loyal and upstanding member of the Tower, one of our dirty boots out there doing the Lord's work. And the only way to stop them from further making a mess of things and forcing our hand, you all are it. Your jobs, your goals, whether you choose to accept it or choose to die, honestly and accurately, is to embed yourselves, to utilize the savagery unleashed tonight, to gain their loyalty, to rile them to action, to get them to come into the light so that we may dispatch them. And this bit of theater allows each of the Primogen to know you all as Anarchs, to further sell that, to further ensure we have their full support, and you occasionally have that imagery to prove just how much of Anarch you actually might be. Those who prayed for your mercy, of course, wanting to believe that there's still some good and some Anarch somewhere, will only add to your legend. We've forgiven them once, we've given them another chance, and this is what they do to our city. So, the question that I am offering you here and now, knowing that you all are already dead, will you help actually make the city better? Will you actually use this second chance at immortality to bring the Anarchs that forced you, and he points directly to you, Bo, to give control of your beast over to ending a compatriot, which forced you, and he points to Reverend Noel, to witness the death of all of those lives that could have been avoided. Yeah, I know your business. It's the reason why Morgaine was calling you all in as security initially, either way. And then you two, I'm sure you all known or knew of Abe far longer. He will be, of course, missed, and we need to find someone to take over his positions out there in the wild. But for now, this is a yes or no moment. Are you with the program? Can you keep the trust invested in you? And will you do the job to which you have been chosen for?
Yes, sir.
Kind of not so much making eye contact, but looking the prince in the face, very stalwart. Yes, sir. I do have a question, though, sir.
I suppose you might already have.
Is the Scourge aware of the plan, sir?
No. Do I look crazy enough to trust Uriah with sensitive information? He would have leaked it incidentally, accidentally. He would have spared you, which would have, well, make a right mess of things.
And our course of action, should he become a direct threat to the operation, sir?
He will be otherwise distracted, making a mess of the other Anarchs he may find first. Warlord is a nice position, but we all know that the Barons are, at least thus far, are the heart and soul of the Anox. So he will be busy hunting down your brethren Shep. And he looks towards Yubo, your brethren Dutch and Jake. I'm sure there are others sub-barons out there in the night, but those two have, well, they're the heart and soul of the Anarch movement. Getting close enough to them, putting them all in one particular place, ain't easy. Almost impossible if you are not on the inside of what the Anarchs do.
So, should we get the chance, we effectively have right of destruction on these two barons, sir?
So long as it is in defense of yourself with witnesses, we can account for and cover you. If there's a outright skullduggerous moment, I can't assure that we can provide you with the mercy necessary. There may be some cost to an outright destructive action. You are not assassins, you're agents, privateers. I understand the police use the word UC.
Understood.
He kind of looks over to
happen.
Yeah, was literally about to say he looks to Bo for Bo's response. And then over to Harper.
Doesn't seem like there's much of a choice now, is there?
Always a choice, Harper. Always a choice.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I understand that you, being a member of the Hono, the Hakata of New Orleans, you are more closely aligned with Peter Romilly than Donna Pudinesca, correct?
More or less. I work most closely with Monsieur Toussaint.
Their more official neutrality we were hoping to utilize. And you, unfortunately, dear, are the gateway towards that. Now, your choice, of course, is still a yes or a no. And having lived under the peace and tranquility of the tower, your neutrality held in place by our efforts, I assume that you might be better suited to a yes. But if your answer is a no, it will be respected. After all, the contract is the contract, and there's a peace between our organizations until such as a time as that contract needs to be renegotiated. So the choice is, in fact, yours.
It wouldn't do much good for one of us to step out for your plan, though.
Oh, it'd be fine. I'm sure we can, how they say in the football, call an audible. You happen to dislike the mercy that was shown and chose when everyone left as the ride back to the quarter was being assigned, it chose that moment to enact your disastrous and failed assassination attempt. It was a good thing that the highest ranking Tremere, Mr. Stickler and Miss Pratt, happened to discover your intentions before you were able to follow through on them. And
You will smile.
a little phone call to Peter Romilly, and even Donna Pudinesca offer my condolences that one of their own would join the Anox, and with all the witnesses, it'd be an easy thing, and we could consider it a done and over with fairly shortly.
Again, I fail to see the choice here.
Oh, there's always a choice. May not be a nice one, may not be a polite one, but there's always a choice. The option, of course, is always yours. We should live honestly, I believe. I believe that we should let whatever flag we choose to fly our existences under flow freely. This is the reason why I am as honest as I am honest, and put everything that I can into whatever thing I do. Honestly. You are free to choose as you feel. You are free to choose.
Just kind of rests a hand on her shoulder. Just say yes. I need you and all the others here for this.
Oh, I haven't said no.
It needs to be clear, Harper. You're either 100% in this or 100% out of it.
There. You're scared, huh? You're making it feel as if we are strong arm, and we are not strong arm, and just the choice is quite simple. Either it is a yes or it is a no. And if you don't say yes, then it is automatically a no. And if you don't say no, it is not an automatic yes. The words must be said because we are bound by those things that we speak into existence. It is very important that there is no dissemination amongst us. My standing rests a little bit on your successes and your failures. Our city rests a little bit on your successes and failures.
As you said, we're dead either way. So sure, count me in. You also might be interested to know that the coroner's office received a visit from government agents to collect the bodies of those slain at the lamplighter.
Yeah, that was expected, unfortunately. Thankfully, Max is a good friend of the family. The family being the Camarilla, not your family. I'm sure that they are a good friend of your family as well. The Castiglions, after all, being cousins of the Pudinescas. But Max was able to make sure that most of the potentially problematic bodies were forgotten, lost. It's the South, and we take things considerably easier than they do up north. Certain bodies will happen to fall into a crematorium a little earlier than scheduled. These things happen. You know, we're slow down here in the South. We forget things. We aren't as smart nor as fast as our northern brethren. Right, Mal?
Now, looking at Evergreen very clearly,
Looking at Mal.
me and you got
very
words
quickly.
later. I won't forget what you said. Yeah, I'm in.
I would not wish to be you, Evergreen. But I wish you luck with whatever that is. Mile, I know that you and Uriah are cousins of sorts, sires who know sires, and so forth and so on. But no death amongst your own. I believe there's been enough of that this evening and this lifetime. So for now, there is a vehicle out front. A lovely little sedan, gets horrible gas mileage. Would you all be so kind as to destroy that as you all make your escape in the hands and clutches of Mr. Sin here, who was here to rescue you all? We need to keep the fires burning, as it were, to give you validity to being upstanding anarchs and so forth and so on.
So yes, sir.
Wait, we gonna destroy it before we take it or after we take it?
No. Before you take it, you all have seen me driving such a car before and figured that you all received mercy. Now's your time to act like foolish heathens and spit in the face of the persons that deem themselves worthy of providing you all with mercy. After all, I did suggest death first, of course, so a few feelings might be involved, and, well, we need to make sure that you're done in Broad Street as far as the anarchs are concerned as well in place. That you are not, in fact, plants, which we all know that you are.
Don't mind if I strip the license plate off it, will you? I imagine that'll be quite the trophy.
Of course. I suggest you do that as quickly as possible.
Well then, if we're all agreed on our course of action, best get to it.
Well, you know I'm always down for a little violence.
One last thing, Prince, if you would allow it.
What is it?
Can you make sure Abe gets proper burial?
I'll make
Meanwhile,
sure that
in the ghost room.
is taken care of properly.
Sorry.
Well then, off I go. He'll just kind of snag one of the still remaining blood beer things off the table and I suppose head on his way towards wherever the fuck that car is.
It's right this way. That'd be really weird that I'm the one that drove it here, I think.
No, you actually drove the cargo van, which has room enough for all of you all. The car is not far away.
Okay, my bad.
It's a lovely little.
Alright, lay it on then.
It's a lovely little S-Class, silver, drop top.
Being that we're in a kitchen, I know they put most of the things away, but are there any bottles of like alcohol sitting out?
Yeah, I believe he mentioned the blood beer, like what remained of them still out, right, Nobu?
Yep.
No, just regular alcohol.
No, it was all kindred. It was all kindred affair.
Beer is not flammable.
I do have
is it?
a question though. Are we to work together or are we working in separate cells to infiltrate the different barons?
You all are part of the new Baron-elect Kyo Tawagato. He's a kindred from out east. Raised a little hell when he was out this way before. Luckily, his sire and I have had words, and he's been brought in to tow. He's a unknown face, so he is a known troublemaker, or at least was. Still an upstanding member, much like yourselves. You'll be working together beneath this baron to insert yourselves in and carve out a barony, bringing the other barons closer to you. Setting up meetings, getting together with each other to, well, make them easier targets.
Noted.
And while I aim again to keep Uriah fairly busy, his interest in you seems unwholesome. You two have not associated in company together before, have you?
Never met the guy and hope never to see him again. It was sort of unwholesome is one word. I was thinking more of unhealthy. He might want to see a psychiatrist.
He has his PhD in psychiatric science and health management, but I will see if I can point him in a better direction.
Yeah, here's my question of what to do if he does arrive on our doorstep one day. Since he seems to have such an infatuation with a bow here.
I would do my best to ensure he stays busy, but he has surprised me once or twice before. I'd like you all to be on your best. Awareness is unhealthy when he focuses on any particular kindred for too long. You all have
During
a
this
lovely
now,
evening.
has been looking for something to set on fire and has already started heading for the front door.
You as well.
It's right over here.
We'll grab some beer on the way out.
I look forward to presenting good results. And with that, he'll follow Bo on the way out.
So, hi. I'm Sin. I don't know who any of you people are.
Yeah, and for the next 24 hours, you ain't gonna learn nothing about me beyond the fact that I want to burn this fucking car to the ground.
I mean, that's pretty quick and easy. Just open up the gas and light up a match and throw it inside.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Bo, tear this license plate off for me.
Sure, can I rip the gas tank out?
We need that.
You do?
Yeah, to
It's
make it go
supposed to be
boom.
Inside when
Well, I
it
was going to
blows
rip
up.
it out and throw it in a seat and then light it so it go boom.
What's the point of that, Bo? It's already in the car.
Makes me feel better.
What?
I mean, you could just punch out the windows if you like.
I mean, yeah, if you want to break something, then go ahead, break something, but like, leave the gas tank alone, man.
Sure. Let's do more violence, which put us in this mess in the first place.
I'm talking about breaking the car, Harper.
I mean, we were explicitly told to do this by the prince. So,
The fire, not the other stuff.
Where's
Oh,
the getaway
yeah.
I
call?
doubt if he cares.
He asked us to shit on his lawn. He's gonna get so mad if we piss on it too.
I mean, not gonna lie, a part of me was like, maybe just take the car and ram it right into the wall. But I don't think he'd like that.
No, I mean he's pretty a man of his word. He said blow up the car, so let's just blow up the car.
Yeah.
Fine.
Thank
Well,
you.
bust a window or something.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to talk again. A long talk about anger control. We may have to start going back to the meetings.
Okay, Evergreen. Fine.
Don't you find me, boy. You killed Abe.
I know.
I want a yes,
Could
sir,
help
from
myself.
you, and then I want nothing else. Well, I mean, beyond the license plate.
Rip the license plate off. Just
And where's my yes, sir?
Sin just takes a step back from the brouhaha.
Mal is skipping towards the getaway car, like literally skipping, but then she stops mid-skip, turns around, looks at Bo. The things Reverend Abe called you from the other side, ooh, made my ears burn.
Is Abe still there, nobody?
Yes.
He's probably still endless tirade right now until something else comes and pulls into the bowels of hell.
You illiterate, unadopted piece of shit!
Kinda, yeah.
Harper is just going to follow Mal and just shake her head.
It'll just,
What
what you said?
Just because what the fuck? Just what the fuck?
He'll take the license plate if it's offered and
Just turn the license plate off. Here.
kind of, one hand on the license plate, the other just slaps it on Bo's shoulder. I'm not kidding, man. We need to work on that.
No, I fucked up. I know. I fucked up. That's the only thing I can say. I fucked up.
Yeah, and it's happened several times in the past couple nights. What can we do to help you with this? Because I can't have you killing any more of us. I can't have it, Bo.
And Arcs, are they on the table?
No. The point of this is to... No killing unless somebody's trying to kill you, Bo. I mean...
Okay, you guys are right. I'll tone it down. Possibly. Only kill
The main
fuck.
part of getting away is to get away.
Yeah, well,
it's just going to open up the gas tank and just light it and just pull out a Zippo, light it, and toss it inside and walk towards the other car.
We need to move. It's just like the moment that he sees the light go click on the Zippo, he's just like, "Oh fuck, Bo, move!"
Bo starts to run away from the gas tank and the car.
Yeah, we're running to the getaway vehicle since Sin has
Right over
decided the time is now.
With everyone at the van, climbing into the cargo van with seats aplenty, almost as if the vehicle had been chosen to have enough seats for everyone, including the extra space that Abe would have taken up. The car explodes, the fumes finally catching up to the floating fire on top of the gas inside of the gas tank. The fumes causing it to expand exponentially and send pieces of glass and shrapnel of sheet metal up into the night sky and across the lawn. You all driving away as the fire is still burning on the remnants of the fuel that is attached to the metal shrapnel and bits of this and bits of that of the vehicle. Now, as military persons and people who've seen movies, your knowledge is a little different. As military persons, you know that it was in fact the fumes, the gas version of the gas inside of the vehicle that caused it to explode. You also know that no matter how full or half full that gas tank was, it wouldn't have gone that high or that far if there weren't other accelerants or explosives attached to the car already. It's funny, being on the front line of a war you didn't realize was in the offing. It's funny when you think about it, having to make friends and allies with the antithesis of what you saw your remaining immortality to be. It's quite funny realizing that you all, because of your loyalty, have been all but press ganged into using that loyalty to betray other kindred. It's funny that this is all coming on the heels and having led up to the death of Abe and Morgaine and the countless other many kindred dropped in Christians. A war fought in the shadows that you've all been swallowed up into. Decisions. You all know that the night is far shorter than you would expect, and the many nights coming will be far more tense than what you've experienced thus far. There's a silent prayer for luck amidst a constantly unloading a stream of nonstop vitriol. Because the voice in your head doesn't need to stop for breath, and neither do any spirits or wraiths that choose to haunt you. And as you all drive away into the New Orleans night, I'd like to thank you all for a lovely session. And I'll see you guys next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
All right.
I don't feel so good, guys.
That didn't go well.